Hey everybody, Corey here, coming at you with another knife review. This time it is of the Benchmade Freek, specifically the Super Freek variant. This is what the community has deemed this knife. So if you go looking for it, don't look for Super Freek because that's not necessarily what Benchmade calls it. So first off, thank you to Tyler over at Everyday EDC for providing this knife for review. We've done a couple of exchanges, and I will link to his channel in the description along with the specs of this knife. Now we will start with our size comparisons, and my ZT is still in for warranty. That's probably not surprising. So here you can see we have a Reich 1902, which is my conventionally large knife, while I don't have my ZT. And here we have a Rat 2, which is my conventionally small knife. So you can see that the Freek, or the Super Freek, definitely leans towards being a larger size knife. Now, this knife is actually interesting to me. Let me get these out of the way real quick. I was thinking about what I was going to do in this review, and the only way I could describe this is that I don't really have a lot to say about this knife. And normally when I don't have a lot to say about a knife, it's because it is rather unspectacular, or I just generally don't like it. And what I can say right now is that this knife is now, it's something new for me. It's something very new for me. And the reason it's new for me is because I actually don't have a lot to say about this knife because it's just great. And I'm just going to say that right now. When I picked this knife up, the first thing I noticed were the ergonomics. And there's no better way to describe it than by saying it feels like some celestial being crafted this handle just for my hand. Now, I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I'm not exaggerating when I say that so far in my knife career, let's call it, this is by far the most ergonomic knife I have ever handled in my entire life, and I can say that with full confidence. The handle is just thick enough. Again, don't forget specs in the description. I'm not going to get out a ruler here. The handle is just thick enough to fill out your hand. It is also just wide enough to fill out your hand without being uncomfortable. It has a slight groove that would kind of suggest where you should lay your fingers down, but for the most part, the grip is entirely neutral. The jimping is located in such a position, and the knife is shaped, the blade is shaped in such a position that your thumb, that's just right where it wants to be. That's just right where it wants to be. I don't have to fiddle with this knife. Every time I pick this knife up, I am ready to go with this knife. It is already, with no fuss, the most comfortable knife I've ever held. And that's all there is to it. I love the ergos. It's absolutely great. As far as I'm concerned, the blade shape. Now for me, I'm someone who's a sucker for belly. We got a decent amount of belly here, and I'm a fan of that. This is a pretty thick blade. As you can see, you can check out the blade stock right... Guess you can't. No blade stock for you. Oh well, there you go. You can check out the blade stock. It's pretty thick. Again, specs in the description, blah, blah, blah. It's not going to be the sliciest blade because it is relatively thick. It's not the thinnest behind the edge, but you know what? Boy, this is a worker. Right now, I think, maybe, out of all the knives I've ever held, this might be the one. If I had to pick one knife, this might be the one knife that I have. The blade is thick, it's big enough to do work. For your everyday cutting tasks, this is absolutely fine. Blade steel on this model is M4. No complaints there. It's gonna be a good blade steel. It's on its way. It might even, some people would call M4 premium. M4 is a very good blade steel. Blade shape perfectly fine. It's functional. I like it. Does a decent job cutting. It's good. The ergos are good. The blade shape is good. I like the coating that's on it. You can see it's kind of wearing off. However, I can't necessarily speak to how the knife was used before it was lent to me, so I can't speak to how easily that coating has a tendency to come off. The axis lock on this one, I'm going to get on my knees so I can actually get in a position to do this. Very smooth. You can see it absolutely falls shut. You can sit here. You can do this all day long. It is so smooth. And I will say, I've heard mixed things when it comes to the axis lock in Benchmade. Excuse me. Sorry. I think one of the reasons it works so well here is because the blade is relatively thick. And when you get a blade that is as thick as this one is, well, naturally, not only do you have the axis lock doing some work, but the blade is just so heavy. Don't get me wrong, it's not like a brick or anything, but the blade is so heavy that it kind of carries itself. There's a lot of momentum behind that blade as you are opening it and closing it. So this is going to be one of those things where I think your average user is actually not going to run into a problem when it comes to talking about the functionality of the axis lock. So that's what I'll say. As you can see here, pocket clip, it'll fit any of the Benchmade pocket clips, but specifically it is tip up only carry, but it is ambidextrous, so you can use right or left hand. And I think that's something that Benchmade really stands by on their knives, because when it comes to something like the axis lock and the thumb studs on both sides, that makes it completely ambidextrous, for in all senses of the word. The only thing I'll say that and this is just something with an axis lock style knife, any lock that is engaged or disengaged with this style of lock, there's really not a detent in a knife like this. So I found that if you try to use the thumb stud to open it, you can, it's fine, it works, but it doesn't really give you that snappy thud that you would normally get on a thumb stud knife that actually had a detent in it. I really don't care. It was just something that I noticed that, especially if you're someone like me who likes to fidget with your knives, ironically, the axis lock is really good for fidgeting. But I find that, if it was up to me, when it comes to a fidgeting thumb stud knife, I would like at least a bit of a detent just for it opens with more authority. It's snappier. It makes you feel like it's more secure, even though God knows this thing is not going anywhere. It's locked up nice and tight. I can't even call that a nitpick though, because that's just a function of the axis lock. It's a result of this style of lock. So, just FYI, this isn't, super snappy when you try to open it like that. Guys, gosh, I'm shocked. Oh, here. Oh my gosh, the biggest thing. I'm sorry it took this long. For those of you who have been on my channel, you might be getting vibes that I'm not big on knives made in the USA. I just did a review on the PM2 that Tyler also lent me, the Spyderco PM2, and if I'm being completely honest, I was pretty underwhelmed. And it probably didn't look too good for my channel in terms of me, having no bias towards the knife's origin, because that's the PM2, it's a legendary knife, and I just really wasn't feeling it. I was afraid that I wasn't going to like the Benchmade either, and it was just going to look like I hate Spyderco and I hate Benchmade and blah, blah, blah. This Benchmade is the Benchmade that has convinced me to buy a Benchmade. I currently have a custom mini Crooked River built in the shop, and after I sort out some stuff in my personal life, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on a custom mini Crooked River. So, just for reference, how much do I like this knife? It helped me make up my mind on Benchmade as a brand. I'm looking forward to my next Benchmade knife. So, that's really all I can say, guys. This is a really good one. If you've been thinking about this one, go to the store, check it out. No, and that's another nice thing. These things are generally in stock. If you got a local sports store, I don't know if like Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops, I don't know if they're all over the US, but check and see. Check your local knife store, see if these are in stock. I have seen these in stock in quite a few places. Man, I'm telling you what, go handle one of these. This is a really nice one. If this wasn't my knife, this might be my favorite knife. So for now, that's all I got. Super Freak, thank you for introducing me to Benchmade and giving me something to look forward to when my mini Crooked River comes in. Hope you guys found this useful, entertaining. I'll see you guys next time.